the courage that it takes for a grown man who has integrated his warrior archetype to cry is actually unparalleled. And I think that many men would not even understand exactly what I'm saying here. And I think many women will completely misunderstand why men also have to cry sometimes. Now, the reason that I talk about this is because I've been pretty much bedridden all day, and I've been sick for most of the day. I'm feeling a lot better right now because I've literally done nothing. You know, when you just sit back and you stare at the ceiling and all you can do is just stare at the ceiling, like even looking at your phone to try to watch something on your phone while you're curled up in a blanket or something is just too much. It's just too much. So you just sit there and you just stare at the ceiling and you look at the sun rays coming in through the blinds and you just chillax. And because there's literally nothing you can do. You're just so not present. Like you're so disconnected from your body and yet so connected simultaneously. And that's what the sickness really is it's a purging, right? I don't even call it a sickness anymore. I just call it a reformatting of the soul, because you are doing that. Like your soul is coming more and more into your body. Viruses are not necessarily what we think they are, and I'll leave it at that for now. But what's most important here is that when I was sitting there, because my face was so puffed up and still kind of is, so if I sound kind of strange, that's why. But my eyes were so puffed up and my nose was running, and I was tears were falling down my face. And I felt so grateful for the time to just be able to be in a place where, thank God that whatever higher source you want to call it, right? Thank goodness, thank truth that I can be here and I can just be at peace with myself. And I don't have to fit in with the world. I don't have to save anybody. I can just take care and be responsible for myself. And that is such a peaceful feeling. It is such a beautiful feeling. And even though, I could barely breathe just a few hours ago, I could barely, just it's not good looking at the, looking back. You kind of just can't even fathom how, it's just funny how sickness works sometimes. And again, I don't like calling it a sickness, but that's what we have been trained to call it. That's what we've been programmed to call it. And this kind of leads me into what I want to discuss today, is that I think that there's many people who don't understand just how programmable their minds truly are. Okay, think about all of the gods and goddesses of all of these ancient myths, okay? And think about, for example, the like the Odyssey and Homer's Iliad, rather. Achilles almost prided himself on never crying and always being the brutish, forceful person. And look where he ended up. Look where he ended up. He didn't end up in a place where, yeah, we remember him. We remember the name. We remember the story of Achilles. But do you want to be like Achilles? I mean, do you want to be like that? I don't necessarily know if I do. I don't really want to be constantly at war. I mean, remember in the movie Troy, which is based off of the Iliad. Remember when he talks about Achilles? He talks about how the gods envy us because we're mortal and because we're doomed. And then at the very end, he says to Briseis, he says, "You gave me peace after a lifetime of war." And it was like he finally realized and surrendered the fact that he was living a life that really wasn't fulfilling. It really wasn't that fulfilling. Like, he would be remembered, yes, and he would have all the glory, yes, but what good is glory if you're not really loved? What good is glory if you're not really in a place of love? And love is a very difficult thing because I just don't fit in with the word love that most people have anymore. I don't really fit in at all anymore with society. And I was very grateful to just be in a place where I could just sit and just let this reformatting of my soul take place through my body, because the body is very wise. The body tells you things that maybe you don't want to even know. And this goes back to the repression, right? A lot of men will repress themselves and their emotions, and they won't allow themselves to cry, and they won't allow themselves to feel what they're feeling because they feel shame for loving themselves. And that's really not healthy. I mean, think about all the old timers, right? Like they had a lot of testosterone, like from the 40s or 50s, right? We can look at the images of these people and we can say, okay, yeah, they probably had higher testosterone, more like definitely. And according to the literature, absolutely, they had higher testosterone and such. But now it's to the point to where there's too much feminine energy in the men, and they don't know how to have a healthy integration of masculine energy, because women just simply cannot teach a man how to be a man. It's just not possible. And this is one of the reasons why single motherhood is destroying the society that we live in. And it's not that I think that single moms are not worth loving or anything like that. I think that it's just the situation that we're in as a society has gotten us to the point in which it's very hard to distinguish what truth really is for a man. And men feel as though they're being told certain things by women and what to do and how to do it, and it just never feels right. And it's because men and women don't express emotions the same way, but both can experience this place beyond good and evil. They can experience this formlessness. It's a form of formlessness, the sense of timelessness. In if God, if you want to call God timelessness, that's what it would be. But I don't really know if I would even call it God anymore. It would be the pattern of loveliness. Like God is loveliness and loveliness is God. It's like people don't realize how programmable they are until they realize how much they have to unlearn about society. And I've gotten to a place, especially today, I've just been so grateful. I've just been so very grateful. And it seems as though most people don't even realize how programmable they are through these stories that we're being told, whether it's gods and goddesses, whether it's heroes, whether it's tragedies, whether it's trauma, but especially trauma. And you need to have trauma in order to control a population. And that's, I think, what a lot of the people that are controlling the society are aiming to do. They're aiming to control the society through induced trauma. And then they can program you based off of that trauma. And I genuinely think that that's what we're going through, and that's what we're seeing right now. And people have every right to be upset about all of these terrible things that are happening and all these crazy things that are happening with the files, with the grapes, you guys know what I'm talking about here, with all these different things and terrible atrocities happening. It can be easy to get overwhelmed by all this information. And the thing is that you don't even know how much of it is really real anymore. And that's the God honest truth right there. If you want the truth and nothing but the truth, that's it right there. I am firmly of the understanding that God, truth, it's so powerful, and he is so powerful. The creator is so powerful and so amazing and so cool that you can look at truth from different perspectives and be right in those different perspectives that seemingly juxtapose or contradict one another. That's how awesome this life really is. And it's really not that mysterious. It's really not that complex. But a lot of people will believe that it is because they want the mystery. People want the mystery. They need the mystery, in fact. In fact, they can't really handle the mystery without the mystery. And the thing is that once the mystery doesn't come, it's not mysterious anymore, well, then you're not as easily programmable because you're not any more longer in belief systems. And I am growing more and more in the intensity that I have to re-examine everything. With the Regal timeline theory and the Regal change, old timers will know exactly what I'm referring to here. The Regal change, old timers will know that the Regal timeline theory that I've been developing and expanding on in my videos for the past few weeks to a month or so, they will know and understand that this is just studying this stuff, you have to re-examine the chronology, what's the word? Chronology? Anyway, the synchronous, the sequence of events through history and time. You have to study that chronologically. Yeah, that's what it is. You have to start to study that a little bit more, and you have to recognize that history is not necessarily what you think it is. Do you really know that you're in 2026 AD? Well, what data points do you have of that? And you might say, well, I can go outside and I can say, well, look, there's this stuff, and this stuff. And that's how I know there's cars and houses, and that's how I know that it's 2026. Well, yeah, but based on whose authority? Who exactly said that it's 2026? Well, if you look at the Gregorian calendar and when it started in the late 1500s, that's when the Gregorian calendar started, and we genuinely have no clue for many of the parts of history. There's a gap in several parts of history based off of my research that I can dive more into if you guys want to, because of course, I don't need you to believe me. I don't even want you to believe me. I don't need you to believe anything that I say. I think that I'm just giving information here that is unfiltered. And whether you choose to do your own research on that or not is up to you. But you have to look at what the data points are, and you have to look at what are the sequences of events and where are you really getting your information from. We live in an information war, and that doesn't mean that you have to live in it, though. It just means that you have to be aware of it. And when you're aware of it, you can step outside of time and you can look into timelessness. And that's where I'm aiming to be in this part of my life is, I don't know, I've had this profound acceptance that this is it. This life, just living, is enough. And life is the gift. Like salvation is life. And life is the gift, and that's what we're promised. And that's our birthright to some degree. Perhaps people are right that salvation is a gift, and perhaps some people are wrong that sin is something to be worshipped, because a lot of people worship sin and they don't even realize it. This is something that someone brought up in the Regal Change Academy recently, is that sin is the ultimate idolization. And it's true because, well, what do you have to do in order to have sin? Well, you have to believe in time. You have to believe in time. Believe in, are you hearing what I'm saying? You have to be, you have to lie to yourself about the timeline that you're in. Because believe has lie in it, right? You have to lie to yourself about the timeline that you're in and believe that there's going to be no consequences really for your actions. And that's obviously not the case. But I've just had this profound sense of peace, even though I've been sick like all freaking day. Again, barely able to move. Like, this is the most amount of movement I've had, like going from my room to here. That's pretty much the most amount of movement I've had all day, because I've just been so like very unflattering as a as an image of me on the floor, just staring at the ceiling, looking at the sun rays. But I've also just felt this profound peace, that it was almost as if I needed this purge of this sickness, quote unquote, right? This reformatting of my soul, to actually understand where I'm truly at in this life, and how I can be more aware, and that's okay, and that's fine. And I don't have to be so caught up in busyness, because have you ever noticed how busy people, they almost like get prideful in their busyness? I don't want to be like that. What's the point? What's the point of being busy if you're not doing something worthwhile? Yeah, like you can be busy, but is it actually building something? Are you actually creating something? Or are you just extracting from, well, people and their energy? And this is just why I can't fit in anymore. I'm seeing, and I know that the people that are out there watching this, and they'll resonate if they're watching it up to this point, you'll resonate and you'll understand that, yeah, you too, you just can't fit in anymore. And that's okay. It's okay. We don't need to fit in, and we don't need to save anybody. So with all that being said, I hope everybody stays blessed. Peace. Until next time.